Hello, and welcome to A Day in My Life. So I woke up today and I was just in a beautiful mood, and I decided that I was going to make a video. I haven't made a YouTube video in a very long time, and I decided to film my day. It's an especially beautiful day today because I finally decided to start illustrating my children's book. It's a story I wrote sometime around the last year I was in Japan, which I'm trying to think back of when that was, maybe around 2009-ish. I was teaching in an all-boys industrial high school called Fuseikoka, and apparently I had written out this entire children's story in my notebook, and I had even planned out every page what was going to be illustrated, and I totally forgot about it. And it's been actually a very long-term goal of mine to write and illustrate my own children's book, and I'm especially motivated now because I have two beautiful nieces. My sister has two daughters, one who is 5 and one who is 3, I believe. They're so sweet, and they both love books. They love illustrated children's books, and they love being read to. And I've had wonderful times reading to both of them. And I even had the beautiful experience of telling them this story last night, and I'm pretty sure it helped them fall asleep, which I know is definitely one of the goals of children's books, is to help them get to sleep at night. So here you just see my home studio. This is where I live and work. Tarot cards, art, my studio, my drag room, which is a total disaster right now. I just got home from a gig in Christina Lake where we had a drag show and a drag queen paint and sip, and still unpacking. Don't forget to wash your rice. So I made omurice for dinner tonight. As I mentioned before, I lived in Japan for about 6 years, so I love Japanese food, and Japanese rice omelet is one of my favorite foods. So here I am, starting my first illustration for my book. Now, the plan for this one is that it's just a first attempt that might end up being the cover or just a promotional image, but I wanted to get a feel for the forest that I'm going to paint, the king's castle that is far in the distance. It doesn't really feature too much in the story. And I want to start painting all of the animals and ogres. The story is called The Animals and the Ogres. So I started with painting the sky and the hill where the king's castle will be. It's far in the distance, so you could notice that I painted this kind of lilac color because it's faded and far away. Mountains or hills that are far in the distance are often this kind of purplish color. Putting in some highlights even though it's very far away. So this scene is going to be a forest scene, but you could see the castle far in the distance. The king's castle. So the idea behind the story is, well, maybe I won't tell the story just yet. But this video today is the very first day. And I plan on continuing to document the process of making this book because it's very special to me. So it'll be really nice to have this to look back on once the book is done, and I could actually sit down with my nieces and show it to them and read it to them out loud. That's going to be the most beautiful moment. So I added some greenery to the distant hills. I'm just focusing kind of in the center because there's going to be a lot of trees on either side, so And then I very roughly painted in the castle. I wasn't getting too worried about details because it is very far in the background, in the distance. It's a minor detail, and fortunately there's not going to be anything painted in front of it, so at any point if I do want to go back and add some more detail I can. But it's not going to be the focal point of the painting, so I'm keeping it vague for now. Okay, so now you could see I am starting to paint in some foliage, and it's just background foliage. I want the forest to be very dense, so I'm not too worried about getting any detail right now. I'm just trying to get some color down on the canvas. It's a forest, so there's going to be a variety of greens. So at this early stage of a painting, I'm not at all worried about anything being perfect or even looking good for that matter. It's just building it up. I want there to be a lot of depth in this painting, and as I said, I want it to be a very dense forest, so it's going to take some time to really start building up all the different greens and the textures. I'm starting to give the impression of a path leading to the castle as well, which I will gradually define a little bit more. So you can see it really takes time to create depth and build up texture in a painting. I started introducing some earth tones, obviously, because it's a forest, there will be earth. But I'll be mixing the greens in with these as well and keeping it natural, but really does take time. I want there to be a very full forest before I start painting the creatures that live within it. I want to create a beautiful environment that's going to be the background of this painting. So even the background, I want to put a lot of work into. And today I basically just worked on the background only. Very important to water your planties regularly. I have a lot of plants, probably at this point over 100 house plants. It is the middle of winter though, so they're not looking the greatest, but that's normal. In winter they do. A lot of them die back, and then they come back in the spring and summer. Most of my plants are doing quite good this winter though, which always makes me happy. I have a lot of cactus and succulents too, so I don't have to water them too much. So now I'm starting to paint some actual trees. I wanted to put some birch trees in here. They're a little rough and ready, but once again, they are part of a dense forest, so they're not going to be totally visible, but I do give them a fair amount of detail. Actually, they will be quite visible. I'm not going to cover these ones up, I don't think. So I do give them a fair amount of detail on the bark and the branches. I actually, at my paint and sip on last Saturday night, that's what we did. We did birch trees, which I had never done in a lesson before. I feel like it's a really common subject, birch tree forests in these paint nights, which is totally fine, but I try to get creative with mine, but I thought, why not? Let's give it a go this time. So everybody enjoyed doing it, and we did get creative too. People added magic mushrooms and fairies and a gnome and even a baby Bigfoot to their paintings. So everybody added their own touch to their forest. Here I am starting to paint the bark of the birch tree, which is quite satisfying. So after adding some more detail to the birch trees, I did end up working on them some more. I started to work on some other trees on the other side. I wanted a big kind of oak tree or some kind of old growth tree on the other side. I ended up having it quite split in two at first because I was being a little bit trepidatious about painting over the background, but I ended up bridging that gap a little bit more and just having a little, still split, but not quite as split as that on that big tree on the right. At this point, I was just kind of in a hurry to get some base color down for the forest. I'm still working on painting grass and leaves and rocks and flowers and mushrooms and things like that. So I just needed to get some color down, and you can't hear the original audio to this. I had music playing, which I can't post on YouTube, but the music was a lot more upbeat, so I was moving a lot faster at this point. And I'm just trying to get some texture and a variety of colors down for the forest floor. And for this, I try to use a bunch of different brushes so I could get different marks, different mark making, a variety of greens and earth tones, and I even use my sponge, which adds amazing texture, as you'll see in a bit. And I start to get into the detail of painting some grass and stuff and more trees. Okay, it's time to take a little break and make some dessert. I chopped up some apples, grabbed a little bit of butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon. And that's all. And I just put it in the oven for a while. I did mix that up after, and I added some almond crunch cereal on top and served it with some coconut milk. So the painting itself is still looking very crude, and to me that's very normal at this very early stage of the painting. So I'm I'm not at all concerned about it looking good yet or refined. There's plenty of time to go in with detail and refine things. This is I'm building it up, creating as much depth as possible. So the main goal is to get that paint on the canvas. Now I'm starting to build more detail as I'm going. Um, I often say that I leave fine detail until the later stages, but it's also great to gradually build up some detail as you go too. There's going to be a lot of grass and moss in this painting, so I will be painting lots of grass and moss, and here I am painting some individual strands of long grass, which I really enjoy doing. Okay, and now it's time to make dinner. For dinner tonight, it is omurice. And today's omurice, I just fried up some onion and carrot and added some frozen peas. And I made a Japanese curry inspired demi-glace sauce. And here's the omelette, which I will put on top of my fried rice. And then slather it in sauce and mayo. One of my favorite Japanese foods that I don't think I've ever seen in Canada, but I eat it often. It was so good. So oishi. Oishikatta desu. So after dinner, I gathered up all my footage from today, and I enjoyed watching myself paint and editing this video. I covered up my TV so I had no distractions. And then later, it was time for dessert. Thanks so much for watching. And stay tuned, I'm going to keep updating on this painting and the process of making this children's book. Thanks so much for joining me.